The art of divesting your sense of self-worth from the turbulent whims and unknowing judgments of others. For what could imperil the human soul more thoroughly than allowing the currents of public opinion to dictate the depths of our self-respect and even the courses of our cherished ambitions? Look within, and you shall see. We each possess an inner citadel, an inviolable sanctum where reside our most deeply held values, our painstakingly cultivated wisdom, our hard-won self-knowledge. It is the preserve of our genuine identities, our truest selves, free from the compromising contortions demanded by chasing after ephemeral adulation or sidestepping others' misguided rebukes. To resolutely anchor ourselves within this unshakable spiritual fortification, turning a deaf ear to anything and everything originating outside of it that might erode our noble strivings. Is this not the most transcendent liberation a human being can achieve? For in that rarefied space, we become impervious to any assailing doubts or criticisms that might dare speak against the purposeful trajectories we have assumed through our own consecrated reasoning and volition. Before we begin, I would appreciate your support. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. If you like the theme of this video, please comment +1, and if you don't like it, then comment 0. We look forward to hearing your feedback. Number 1. Focus on what you control. The path to tranquility begins by accepting that so much of what causes us distress lies outside our control. The opinions, judgments, and actions of others, chief among them. To fret over how we are perceived is to surrender our peace of mind to forces we cannot govern. Is this not folly? Instead, I exhort you to be like the expert archer. He cannot command the winds to be still, nor dictate where his target shall move. His mastery lies in focusing wholly and completely on that which is his to direct. The strength of his draw, the steadiness of his aim, the weight of his conviction as he loses the string. In life, too, your greatness is determined not by the plaudits or sneers of the crowd, but by how wisely you apply your reason, your principles, and your values, those sole possessions over which you exert full dominion. Things outside our reasoned choice are nothing to us at all. Imagine you are a skilled artist, crafting your life's masterpiece stroke by vivid stroke. Would you not be filled with shame were you to put down your brush at every passing comment and permit the whims of peanut gallery critics to dictate your vision? Of course not. You would practice your art with singular devotion, cultivating your creativity to gloriously bloom while shutting out the chatter of idle voices raised in ignorant judgment. So too must you, the artist of your own existence, firmly grasp the handles of reason and willpower to direct your thoughts and actions in accordance with your highest ideals. Does a person mock your efforts or scoff at your principles? Their words are but an empty breath upon the wind. Does your heart race with wounded pride when another seems to have slighted you? This fantasy too shall dissolve like a puff of smoke when you simply release it from the desperately grasping clutches of your ego. But what of wicked deeds committed against me? You may protest. Even here, you control how you respond. As the sage emperor Marcus Aurelius reflected, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Will you permit the malignance of others to stain your spirit with bitterness, anger, and gloom? Or do you instead meet evil with an unshakable commitment to justice, honor, and high-mindedness? The choice always is yours. Number 2. Stay on your path. When have you ever known someone to achieve excellence by constantly shape-shifting their purpose to mimic each passerby? The sculptor does not abandon his chisel every time a new structure is raised, nor does the sailor quit the waves with every shifting current. Mastery grows not through restless wandering, but through focused, steadfast practice. And what purpose could be more worthy of your commitment than the ceaseless refinement of your own character, skills, and principles? This is the great work that defines the arc of your life's journey. All else, wealth, status, accolades, these are fleeting clouds, pale wisps that come and go like Penelope's suitors, while you remain rooted to the steadfast loom of your integrity. Yet, how easily we are lured from our sure path by the green-eyed demons of envy and covetous comparison. We gaze upon the seeming successes and possessions of another, and immediately our souls are inflamed with the desire to replicate that illusion. But pause and reflect. Is not the envious person revealed as a pitiable shade, forever chasing borrowed lights, while their own brilliance remains unpolished? Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Consider the tranquil joy of one who has learned to want for nothing more than to cultivate their own noble reason and character. See how their gaze remains ever fixed upon the duties and principles that lie within their own sphere of control. Where you stand consumed by jealous turmoil, they move sedately through life as through a well-appointed home, deriving nourishment from the sweet waters of their chosen purpose and ambition. What can shake such an unwavering spirit? Not the snipes of critics who project their own hollowness, not the SUV or McMansion acquired by some avaricious social climber neighboring their patch of peaceful self-sufficiency. These external vagaries are but rustlings in the leaves to one who abides at the level of life's true mastery, the ceaseless refinement of skillful character and purpose. So take stock of your deepest personal convictions and what it is you intend to craft from the canvas of your existence. Engrave that purpose upon your heart, and then guard it more jealously than the Stoics safeguarded their apatheia. When envy and distraction inevitably come sniffing, seeking to lure you off your chosen trail, simply observe them with the indifferent bemusement of one who knows their ultimate destination lies serenely beyond such petty deviations. Number 3. Put them to the test. For what is the root cause of most human suffering? Is it not our tendency to blindly embrace false narratives and then unwittingly mold our thoughts and actions to align with those distortions? We gaze upon the world through the warped lenses of preconception, rumor, and hasty judgment, and then we wonder why our vision remains so clouded. Take, for example, the sting we feel when another person seems to have insulted or slighted us in some way. The hurt arises not from their words or actions themselves, which are inherently neutral occurrences, but from the meanings and motives we have assigned to them through the fallible filter of our own assumptions. Perhaps they simply misspoke or had a distracting personal matter monopolizing their attention. Yet we take offense all the same, based on our superimposed narrative. This is why the sage is one who has learned to pause and deeply question each impression before investing it with an authority it may not deserve. It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things, as I once counseled a student feeling perturbed by his friend's lateness. We must continually ask, is the story I am telling myself about this situation actually grounded in observable reality? Or have I simply constructed an emotional fiction through my own leaps of presumption? The person who's working diligently to master this discipline develops what the Stoics called an unsurprised relationship with the events of their life. They face each arising circumstance with a serene imperturbability, openly curious, but refusing to hastily contort it into some fanciful offense or impending catastrophe. When insulted, they remain buoyant, first investigating whether the perceived slight bears any actual substance. When plans go awry, They sidestep knee-jerk panic by questioning whether this apparent misfortune may simply be the universe's higher unfolding, rearranging their steps towards greater benefit. "Where is the good in this situation?" a student once asked after a house fire claimed all his material possessions. To which I replied, "But did the fire lay a hand upon your character, your intrinsic dignity and reason? Then where precisely is the loss? For one practiced at separating impressions from facts cannot be robbed of their true source of equanimity. So, be as passionate a student of scrutinizing your assumptions as you are of any outer philosophy or discipline. Only once you've securely reckoned with the contents of your own mind can you hope to part the veils of delusion and glimpse reality as it truly is. Number 4. Don't talk about it. The admirable Ryan Holiday illustrates a profound Stoic truth through his disciplined book-reading ritual, that the accomplishment of any worthwhile endeavor demands we ruthlessly concentrate our time and energies while turning a deaf ear to the siren calls of validation and recognition. For what is more common, my friends, than to encounter those who endlessly tweet and trumpet every fleeting aspiration before it has borne the slightest fruit? Their minds are so greedily consumed with the anticipation of accolades that they fritter away the very focus required to manifest their ambitions. Like emotional derelicts, they wander from potential triumph to potential triumph, desperate to be seen trying, yet never possessing the restraint to resolutely follow through. How vastly more admirable is the soul who undertakes their quest in modest, industrious silence. Consider the steady sculptor who summons no crowd to reverently observe them roughing out the formless block of marble, but instead applies their chisel with studied devotion until at last, through years of toil, they may finally let fall the veil to reveal their masterwork. This is the path exemplified by the most devoted adherents to our Stoic discipline, that of pursuing lofty purpose and virtue for its own inherent sake, unconcerned with the ephemeral opinion of the mob. Take heed from another great Stoic example, that of the committed student who forgoes ostentatious boastings about their studies, and instead allows their cultivated wisdom and character to speak for itself through effortless demonstration. Those most consumed with a craving for advertised recognition are often those putting forth the least substantive effort outside of public view. So by all means, let your actions and works proclaim your values and principles loudly. But as for endlessly heralding those feats before they have matured through sustained and silent labor, extend that vice no audience, I say. Simply conduct your life's labor while awaiting each achievement's fullest blossoming. Then, when your toil stands robust and undeniable, it will speak with a deafening authenticity that needs no trumpeting. Number 5. Respect yourself. For what tyrannical dynamic underlies so much of the angst that lashes the human soul? Is it not the desperate self-inflicted ache to shape ourselves into the molded expectations of those around us, rather than abiding by the unfettered callings of our own inner nobility? We shear away parts of our identity, suppress our unique strivings and convictions, and malformed ourselves into tragically inauthentic shapings, all in hopes that this contorted pantomime might at last purchase for us some crumbs of ephemeral approval and belonging. But you, who have drunk from the wisdom fountains of Stoicism, can you not see that this path leads only to the negation of your quintessential nature? To abandon the strengths and virtues that constitute your irreplicable identity is no different than shouldering the yoke of servitude. As Epictetus warned, no one is free who is not master of themselves. Shake off these intangible shackles. Unfurl your spirits to revel in the full bloom of your singular strengths, cultivated not to satisfy the petty whims of others, but to instantiate your personal ideals in their most realized grandeur. To know your worthiness outside of the prism of what others may think of you, this is the unyielding castle that keeps fortifying the liberated mind. It is the gravitational anchor that steadies us when vain status seekers and pedestaled idols come undone by the vicissitudes of public favor. Ah, but how to cultivate such an inviolable frontier, demiurge of earned self-assurance? Through the pursuit of reason and virtue, dear friends, the very wellsprings in which we Stoics are privileged to swim. Awake, daily resolving to part the causeways of ignorance through study and introspection. Hone your values and principles to a fine edge by striving towards your most reverent ideals, and courageously meet each experience as an opportunity to strengthen your applied mastery over impulses like fear and desire. In this way, you nurture rich harvests of self-esteem springing directly from the loamy soil of your accomplished excellence as a human being, unshakably self-validated through the hard-won merits of your character. Then, when the siren calls of insecurity and inadequacy come coruscating upon you, your steely self-possession shall remain defiantly unscratched, the riotously blooming emblem of one who has outgrown the hunger for empty flattery and who sets their inner course by loftier, harder-earned stars. Such self-reverence indisputably becomes the sweetest draught to sip from life's cup. Number 6. Be your best self. For what could matter more in this transient life than cultivating excellence of character and striving each day to give full expression to your highest virtues and principles? Empty indeed is the existence of one who, like a rudderless skiff, founders upon every current of fickle approval or disfavor, cast their way by the indiscriminate masses. As the great Stoic Musonius Rufus taught, not to be overwhelmed by anything that happens, and not to let one's judgment succumb to such circumstances, is a piece of unconquered spiritual fortitude. This inner sovereignty, this unshakable command of one's reason and conscience, it is the supreme philosophical acme to which we adherents of the Portico dedicate our lives' studies. What superior guidance could there be than the insights and values cultivated through diligent introspection, wide learning, and the ceaseless tempering of our characters upon the whetstone of life's trials? When you go forth each day to ply your purposeful labors, whose acclaim is more vital, the vacillating plaudits of the crowd that today elevates you, but tomorrow may just as easily turn to derision, or the softly ringing certainties of your own ethically grounded self-appraisal, which abides serenely beyond the reach of such disturbances like some untouchable summit peak. Make no mistake, the validation of your own best self is the sole laudation worth exalting above all others. As that paradigm of Stoic restraint, not to be captive to outside acceptance, but to willingly accept loneliness of solitude. For what higher benediction is there than gazing upon your actions at the day's twilight and feeling that inward surge of pride that you have once again upheld your vision of integrity, mastery, and nobility? So, turn your focus radically inward, dear travelers. Take exquisite stock of your deepest values and the footprints of your life's highest purposes. Then, unwavering, follow the maps they inscribe, impervious to external dust and squalls that may fleetingly eclipse your unwandered path. For in drinking deeply from such wellsprings of self-excellence and inner approbation, you shall come to thirst no longer for the impoverished draughts of ephemeral praise or rebuke. The peace and contentment forged from embodying your personal ideals shall permeate you with a lofty, adamantine tranquility. Number 7. Focus on who you are. Of all the afflictions that may imperil the human soul upon its journey, few cut more insidiously than our tendency to allow the ever-shifting winds of external opinion to unsettle our convictions about our own worth and identity. For what does it profit a person to meticulously cultivate wisdom, virtue, and an unshakable philosophy by which to navigate life, only to have the whole endeavor rendered asunder by a few errant whispers cast their way in critique or mockery? Make no mistake, my friends, this perilous capitulation to outside judgment over our hard-earned self-assessments is a betrayal of the first order. It is akin to a master artisan setting aside their tools at the first dissenting comment, or a skilled archer neglecting to lose their shot, for fear it may miss the mark in someone's estimation. What wrong have I done? Where were you looking when I was growing old? We would do well to echo these words whenever we catch ourselves faltering in the face of misaligned public opinions about our personhood. Who stands as the ultimate authority on the truth of your character, if not your own reasoned self-appraisals, built from reflection, experience, and an abiding commitment to upholding your deepest principles and ideals? When the ill-informed churl attempts to dismiss you with some petty slight, does the sting not derive entirely from your granting their misinformed projections an undue clemency to permeate your self-perception? Truly, their insult vanishes like a puff of hot air the moment we elect to see ourselves through the tempered lens of our own appraised integrity. So let this be our shared mantra, that we are not thinly sketched creations awaiting endless revision at the capricious stroke of each passing opinion. We have consecrated works of profound interiority whose worth shines incorruptible from within. This bedrock conception of our intrinsic dignity is ours to uphold with every renewal of our vigilant self-examination and ethical fortitude. Let us ever meet the world's shifting verdicts on our character with a profound centeredness, secure in the solemn verdict we alone are sanctioned to issue. Number 8. Practice not feeling shame. Even the great originators of our philosophy were not spared the need to unfetter their minds from this most common of human frailties. In Zeno's case, his mentor, Crates, employed a rather unconventional therapy to edify his pupil, intentionally parading him through the heart of Athens, surrounded by a mocking, jeering mob, all to inure him against the sting of public embarrassment. While the old master's methods may have been bracing, Zeno ultimately took the lesson to heart. He came to realize that the root cause of his social paralysis was his own internal investments in what others might think or say about him in any given situation. It was only once he could firmly unhinge his self-conception from those externally sourced pangs of anxiety that he was able to proceed with the founding of our great philosophical tradition. And what an extraordinary company he joined. The ancient chronicles tell of Diogenes strolling brazenly through the heart of Corinth, brandishing a lantern on a clear day, proclaiming, "I am looking for an honest man." Imagine being so unconstrained by fear of public rebuke that you could openly shame an entire city's lack of virtue to their faces. My personal inspiration comes from the legendary tale of the Chinese Stoic Ko Feng. Tasked with intercepting a band of violent criminals, he unexpectedly found himself arriving alone at the climactic confrontation, as his military company had been obstructed. With steadfast Stoic resolve, Ko did not turn heel or shrink from duty, despite the daunting odds and obvious peril. He pressed forward alone, admonishing his foes that they faced the full justice and civic virtue of an officer upholding his sworn duty, regardless of any mismatch of numerical force. By calmly apprehending the ringleaders through his commanding and principled presence, he illustrates powerfully what feats we can accomplish when unshackled from giving quarter to others' dismissive projections. So let us absorb these heroic exemplars into our bones. Face each public setting secure in the knowledge that you move cloaked in the armor of your reasoned commitment to virtuous words and deeds. Should the dull masses mock or jeer, simply regard them as you would a particularly raucous flock of farmfowl, giving automatic expression to their base natures. Pity them if you are moved, but never afford their misinformed judgments access to hamper your pursuit of well-cultivated wisdom and integrity. Our travels through this philosophical landscape have revealed a truth as profound as it is life-renovating, that to elevate our existence into the realms of imperturbable tranquility and fulfillment, we must relentlessly tend the sacred inner garden where our virtues, ideals, and authentic sense of self take radiantly luminous root. For too long we have been featherweights, permitting each passing whim of external opinion and judgment to scatter us in servile, reactive directions far from the beckoning of our soul's foremost appointed paths. But now, having steadied our gaze upon the venerable teachings of our Stoic forebearers, we begin to comprehend the quiet, yet inextinguishable power available to those who resolutely elect to author their own character and worth from within. Let each new dawn find us asserting our reasoned mastery over the insubstantial fears and impulses that would compromise our integrity, those trepidations about image, status, and the ephemeral approval of others. In their stead, let us cultivate a disciplined focus on continually coming into ever fuller, fearless alignment with the lodestar of our principles, talents, and most quintessential values. In this uncompromising way, we alchemize formerly deflating criticisms from without into the purifying flame that hardens us and renders us progressively untouchable. This monumentally liberating inner feat of independence is our grandest acquisition. Armed with the wisdom of prioritizing our self-respect over societal pandering, we rise like mythical phoenix. Our lesser selves shed, our authenticity majestically unfurled in the self-sustaining radiance of earned self-love and self-determination. With each step further along this transformative path, the gravity of outer opinions' once formidable pull upon the soul dissipates, banished by the sovereign light of our own curated excellence.